Hello students, welcome to the EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Gaurav Kumar Jain from Jamia Hamdard University, New Delhi. Today I am going to talk about module Mixing Technology from paper Product Development 1. This lecture will make you understand about classification of mixing processes and applications, fundamentals of liquid mixing and equipments used in liquid mixing, fundamentals of solid mixing and equipments used in solid mixing, and fundamentals of semi-solid mixing and equipments used for semi-solid mixing. Pharmaceutical unit operations such as mixing, milling, drying, filtration, granulation, compaction, coating, and microencapsulation play a very important role during product development. In this module, we will study about mixing technology. Almost every pharmaceutical product contains more than one component, and this necessitates mixing technology in their manufacturing process. Mixing is defined as process of thoroughly combining different materials to produce a homogeneous product. It is a process in which two or more ingredients are treated so that each particle of any one ingredient is as nearly as possible to the particle of other ingredient. Mixing is a critical process because the quality and attributes of the final products are derived by the quality of the mix. Mixing fulfills many objectives beyond simple combination of raw materials. These includes preparing of elegant suspensions, fine emulsions, reducing particle size, manipulating rheology, dissolving the components, and heat transfers. Improper mixing results in non-homogeneous products that lack consistency with respect to desired attributes like dose which is to be delivered, particle size, color, texture, flavor, reactivity, and chemical composition. A mixer is no longer a generic production tool but a critical and decisive business tool. This is because profitability and competitive advantage are dependent upon improvements in product quality through gains in mixing performance and efficiency. A recently published handbook on industrial mixing estimates the cost of poor mixing to be as high as $100 million per year. The terms mixing and blending are often used interchangeably, but technically they are slightly different. Blending is a relative gentle process compared to mixing. The term blending is usually used for solid-solid mixing or mixing of bulk solids with a small quantity of liquid, whereas mixing is associated with liquid-liquid or gas-liquid or viscous materials. Mixers come in all shapes, sizes, arrangements, and mode of operation. Mixers can be classified on basis of first, type of mixtures such as positive, neutral, or negative mixtures, or on the basis of second, type of flow pattern generated by the impellers such as axial, radial, and tangential flow pattern, or on the basis of third, that is miscibility of phases to be mixed such as single phase or multi-phase, and on the basis of mechanism of mixing such as convective mixing and shear mixing. Mixers can also be classified on basis of mode of operation such as batch process or continuous process. However, the easiest way to classify mixer is to divide them according to state of materials being mixed such as liquid, solid, and semi-solids. To simplify, they are further subclassified based on mode of operation such as batch mixers or continuous mixers. Before moving forward, let us define some terminologies which would be useful for better understanding. The first one is positive mixing. It applies to the system where spontaneous, irreversible, and complete mixing would take place without the expenditure of energy, provided time is unlimited. Although the input of energy by using mixing apparatus will shorten the time required to obtain the desired degree of mixing. In general, positive mixtures such as mixture of two gases or two miscible liquids do not present any problem during mixing. Second, negative mixtures. Negative mixtures are generally more difficult to form and maintain and require a higher degree of mixing as compared to efficiency than do positive mixtures. Negative mixing is demonstrated by biphasic systems in which the phases differ in density. Any two-phase system such as suspension of solid in liquids or emulsions or creams tends to separate out quickly unless energy is continually expended on them. Third is neutral mixing. It occurs when neither mixing nor demixing take place unless the system is acted upon by external energy input. Neutral mixtures are static in behavior, have no tendency to mix spontaneously or segregate spontaneously, and include mixture of powder, paste, and ointments. The fourth is axial or longitudinal flow. It is flow of liquid up and down parallel to the impeller shaft. The fifth is radial flow. It is flow of liquid in a direction towards the wall of tank vertical to the impeller shaft. Another definition is of tangential flow, which is also called as rotational flow. The liquid flows as circles around the impeller shaft in this kind. The next term to be defined is batch mixing. In batch operation, all ingredients are loaded into the mixer together, mixed until a homogeneous material is produced and discharged from the mixer in a single lot. This type of mixing is preferred when the material to be mixed is limited in volume. The next term is continuous mixing. In continuous operation, the ingredients are continuously charged into the mixer. The mixing takes place as the material travels from the charging port to the discharge nozzle, from where it is continuously discharged. This type of mixing is preferred when the material to be mixed is in large volumes. The last term to be defined is pitch of blade. It refers to the degree of angle of the impeller blades. A straight pitch impeller blade is angled the same from the front of the hub to the rear. Progressively pitch impellers change angle from the front to the rear. Students, we will start with part 1 of the module, which is fundamentals of liquid mixing. So first we start with mixing mechanisms. The mixing mechanisms for liquids fall into 4 categories. The first one is bulk transport. Bulk transport is movement of a relative large portions of the material from one location in the system to another. For bulk transport to be effective, it must result in a rearrangement of the various portions of the materials to be mixed. This is usually accomplished by means of paddles, revolving blades, or other devices within the mixer arranged so as to move adjacent volumes of the fluid in different directions. The second mechanism of mixing is turbulent mixing. The phenomena of turbulent mixing is the direct result of turbulent flow, which is characterized by random fluctuations of the fluid velocity at any given point within the system. In general, with turbulence, the fluid has different instantaneous velocities at different locations, and such velocity differences produce randomization of the fluid particle. For this reason, turbulence is highly effective mechanism of mixing. Turbulence is characterized by eddies or portions of a fluid moving as a unit in a direction often opposite to that of the general flow. It results in lateral mixing. The size distribution of eddies within a turbulent region and the velocity with which the eddies move characterize the mixing efficiency. The third mechanism of liquid mixing is laminar mixing. The phenomena of laminar mixing is frequently encountered when highly viscous fluids are being processed and if stirring is relatively gentle. Mixing occurs because of stretching of the interface between the two dissimilar liquids. It should be pointed out, however, that by this process alone an exceedingly long time is required for the layers of the different fluids to reach molecular dimensions. Therefore, good mixing at the molecular level requires a significant contribution by molecular diffusion after the layers have been reduced to reasonable thickness by laminar flow. The next mechanism is molecular diffusion. This is primary mechanism responsible for mixing at molecular level, resulting from the thermal motion of the molecules. When it occurs in conjugation with laminar flow, molecular diffusion tends to reduce the sharp discontinuities at the interface between the fluid layer and if allowed to proceed for sufficient time results in complete mixing. The process of molecular diffusion is described quantitatively in terms of Fick's first law of diffusion as described in the equation. Usually, more than one of these mechanisms is operative in practical mixing situations. Now we will discuss the equipments which are used for liquid mixing. A system for liquid mixing commonly consists of two primary components. First, a tank or other suitable container for holding the material being mixed, and second, a means of supplying energy to the system by use of an impeller, airstream, liquid jet, etc. Baffles, vanes and ducts are also used to direct the bulk movement of the material in such mixers, thereby increasing their efficiency. The first equipment for liquid mixing to be discussed is impellers. Impellers usually mix the liquid by rotating in tanks. The impellers are classified as propellers, turbines, and paddles. The distinction between impeller type is often made on the basis of type of flow pattern they produce or on the basis of shape and pitch of the blades. The first impeller to be discussed is propellers. The flow pattern which is executed by a propeller is axial type. The operational speed of propeller is high and varies from 400 to 2000 revolutions per minute. Ratio of container diameter to impeller blade is 20:1. It means that impeller blade radius is very small as compared to container diameter. Now, because of this unique shape, they are used for mixing positive mixtures such as liquids of low viscosity. They are also used for dilute suspensions and emulsions. They are not used for liquids having viscosities more than 5 poise due to absence of radial flow. Example of such mixtures include marine propellers and fluid foil propellers. The next type of impeller is turbine. The primary flow pattern in turbine impeller is radial. Its operational speed varies from 100 to 200 revolutions per minute. The ratio of container diameter to impeller blade is 3:1. This means they rotate slowly than the previously discussed propellers and their size is greater than the propellers. Because of their unique geometry, they are used for mixing of liquids of moderate viscosity, but they are not used for highly viscous materials. Examples of turbines include Rushton turbine, blade disc turbine, flat blade turbine, pitch blade turbine, and retreat blade turbine. The next impeller to be discussed is paddles. In paddles, the primary flow pattern is tangential. the operational speed is less than 100 revolutions per minute. This speed is less than the impeller speed of turbines as well as propeller. The ratio of container diameter is to impeller blade is 1:1. This means the blade moves close to the container wall. And because of this, they are used for mixing of viscous materials, gels, paste, and ointments. Examples of paddles include simple paddle, anchor paddle, helical paddle, and gate paddle. The next mixer to be discussed is jet mixers. Jet mixers rely on the use of a jet, that is, a stream of liquid or air injected at high velocity in the bulk of another miscible liquid. This is typically achieved with an external recirculation pump. Jet mixers can be used in either tanks or pipes. They offer several advantages over impellers. First, they do not have any moving part, so maintenance cost is low. Second, dead spots are less, resulting in effective mixing. The mixers which we have discussed so far are all batch mixers. The mixers which we are going to discuss are continuous mixers. Continuous mixers are also called as inline mixers. Inline mixers are used when large volume of materials are to be handled. They are small mixing devices which are placed in the same line where the materials to be mixed are flowing. The inline mixers are generally of two types. First, dynamic, where the mixing energy is provided from outside. Second, static or motionless, where the fluid itself provides the mixing energy. First, we will discuss inline dynamic mixers. Inline dynamic mixers consist of small, high-speed mixers placed inside a casing fed with a continuous stream of the materials to be mixed. The residence time of inline mixer is usually of the order of seconds. They results in very effective continuous mixing. The second type is inline static mixers. Static mixers consist of elements such as vanes, baffles, screws, or grits placed inside a pipe. Here mixing occurs through successive diversions and recombination of the process fluid when it moves across the pipe cross-section. Now we will discuss about some practical considerations in liquid mixing. The first problem that arises is vortexing. A vortex develops at the center of the vessel when liquids are mixed by a centrally mounted vertical shaft impeller. These impellers tends to induce tangential flow which does not itself produce any mixing except near the tank walls where shear forces exist. This results in vortex formation. This is particularly true for impellers with high speed or when dealing with liquids of low viscosity. When a vortex is formed, air is drawn into the impeller and is dispersed into the liquid. This results in several disadvantages. The first one is there is no real mixing. This is because the mixing intensity is reduced due to presence of the air. The second is air may be entrapped in the solution, causing degradation of oxidizable materials. The last disadvantage is that vortexing make it difficult to scale up the process as it is impossible to achieve kinematic and geometric similitudes. The vortex formation may be avoided by several techniques. The first one is changing arrangement of the impeller. This can be done by mounting an impeller either to an offset center position or inclined position or side entering position, thus destroying the mixer symmetry. The second method is changing the tank geometry. The third method is by using a push-pull propeller. The next method is use of baffles. The use of baffles prevent vortex formation. This is done by changing the flow pattern of the liquid. The last technique is by using diffuser ring. The next topic to discuss is mixer selection. One of the first and often most important consideration in any mixing problem is equipment selection. Factors that must be taken into consideration for appropriate mixer selection includes: first, the physical properties of the materials to be mixed, such as density, viscosity, and miscibility. Second, economic considerations regarding processing, for example, the time required for mixing and power expenditure. Third, cost and maintenance of the equipment. In any given case, one or more of these factors may be taken into consideration. However, the selection of equipment depends primarily upon viscosity of the liquids to be mixed. First, we will discuss mixers for low viscosity systems. Fluids of relatively low viscosity are best mixed by methods that generate a high degree of turbulence and at the same time circulate the entire mass of material. These requirements are satisfied by air jets, fluid jets, or high-speed propellers. A viscosity of approximately 5 to 10 poise may be considered as a practical upper limit for the application of these devices. Mixing of intermediate viscosity fluids such as immiscible liquids, that is emulsions, or finely divided solids with a liquid of low viscosity, that is suspensions, may be accomplished with a turbine of flat blade design. A characteristic feature of such impeller is the relative insensitivity of their power consumption to the density or viscosity of the material. For this reason, they are particularly good choice when emulsification or dispersion of added solids may affect these properties of the material significantly during the mixing operation. This property of turbine is due to the mechanism by which they produce their characteristic radial flow. When compared with a propeller of similar size, flat blade turbines of the radial flow type have a significantly lower pumping capacity, which makes them less suitable for mixing in large tanks. In case of suspensions, when deaggregation is to be carried out following a general mixing step, the high-speed turbines, frequently fitted with stators to produce increased shearing action, are employed. Preparation of fine emulsions, whereby large globules are successively broken down into smaller ones, is accomplished by the process termed as homogenization, which is discussed in module milling technology. Highly viscous liquids are efficiently mixed by the shearing action of two surfaces in close proximity. This is achieved by paddle mixers in which the blades clear the container walls by a small tolerance. As the percentage of solid is increased, or if highly viscous fluids are employed, the solid-liquid system takes the consistency of paste. For thicker paste and plastic masses, a kneading, stretching, and folding action is employed. In such cases, sigma blade mixer, mull mixer, and roller mills are commonly used. With more fluid dispersions, the colloid mill may be used. Many of the mixing characteristics attributed to the various impellers, jets, and other mixing equipments can be considerably altered by changes in the relative size, shape, or speed of their component parts, although the method of scale-up are usually considered in relation to the problem of going from lab scale to pilot plant and to production scale. Now we move on to second part of this module, that is solid mixing. Solids like bulk powders or granules appear to exhibit fluid-like flow when they are poured from one container to another and seems to occupy more or less a constant bulk volume. In principle, such solids can be intimately mixed at the particulate level, much like miscible liquids. However, the mixing of solid presents problems that are quite different from those associated with miscible liquids. Well-mixed powders are often observed to undergo substantial segregation called as demixing during mixing or after the mixing operation. Solid mixing is considered to have a following representations. The first image describes initially unmixed powder. The second image is of perfect mix, where each particle lies as close as possible in contact with a particle of the other component. This is desirable, but such arrangements is virtually impossible to get in practice by any mixing equipment. The third image is of random mix, where the probability of finding one type of particle at any point in the mixture is equal to its proportion in the mixture. In practice, this is the type of mix most likely to be obtained. The fourth image is of completely segregated state, also called as demixing. These states appear because powder represents neutral mixtures. Now we will discuss about mechanisms involved in solid mixing. The mechanisms of mixing of solid fall essentially into three categories. They are quite similar to the mechanisms involved in liquid mixing. The first mechanism is convective mixing. Convective mixing is similar to bulk transportation. It is moving of relatively large mass of the material from one part of the powder bed to another. It occurs by means of blades, paddles, a revolving screw, or by tumbling of container, resulting in less ordered state inside the mixer. With progressing time, the mixture will become more and more randomly ordered, and after a certain time, the ultimate random state is reached. Usually, this type of mixing is applied for coarse and free-flowing material. Possible threats during convective mixing is the demixing of the components, since difference in size, shape, density of the different particles can lead to segregation. The second mechanism is shear mixing, called as intensive mixing. It is similar to turbulent mixing of liquids. When materials are cohesive, which is the case with fine particles, then convective mixing is no longer sufficient to obtain a randomly ordered mixture. The relative strong interparticle force will form lumps, which are not broken by the mild transportation forces in the convective mixer. To break the lumps, more energy intensive mixing is required. These additional forces can be either impact forces or shear forces due to presence of blades in the mixer. The last mechanism of solid mixing is diffusive mixing. Diffusion, also referred to as dispersion, is said to occur when random motion of particles within a powder bed cause them to change position relative to one another. Diffusive mixing occurs at the interface of dissimilar regions that are undergoing shear. Use of baffles, asymmetric cross-flow designs, irregular rotation protocols, or axial rocking improve diffusive mixing. The equipments used for solid mixing follows one of the mechanisms or combination of the mechanisms described above. Now we will discuss the equipments employed for solid mixing. The first one under this category is tumblers, also called as blenders. A tumbling mixer consists of a container which is mounted so that it can be rotated about an axis to cause movement of the material in all planes which is necessary for rapid overall mixing. Flow in tumbling mixers is two-dimensional and has been quantitatively defined in terms of regimes such as slipping, avalanching, cascading, cataracting, and centrifuging. The mild forces employed in such type of mixers allow coarse and free-flowing powders to be handled satisfactorily. Various types of tumblers with different geometric shapes such as drum, cubicle, double cone and twin shell benders are commercially available, which may be rotated about almost any axis depending on the manufacturer. The first one is tumbling barrel or drum mixer. The most important point is that it generates low shear force and is thus suitable for friable particles. The second geometry is cubicle. The cubicle geometry provides three-dimension mixing because of sliding of powder on wall, but they are difficult to clean due to presence of corners, and particle abrasion take place because of sliding property. The next geometry is double cone blender and twin shell blender, also called as V blender. Both these equipments are easy to clean because they do not have any corners. They result in precise mixing because of both convective and shear mixing mechanism, thus resulting in no dead spots. The efficiency of tumbling mixture is highly dependent on speed of rotation. Rotation that is too slow neither produces the desirable intense tumbling or cascading motion, nor does it generate rapid shear rates. On the other hand, rotation that is too rapid tends to produce centrifugal force which is sufficient to hold the powder to the sides of the mixer and thereby reduces efficiency. The optimum rate of rotation depends on the size and shape of the tumbler and also on the type of material being mixed, but ranges from 30 to 100 rpm. The next class of mixers are agitators. Agitator mixers employ a stationary container to hold the material and bring about mixing by means of moving screw, paddles or blades. Since these mixtures do not depend entirely on gravity, as do the tumblers, they are useful in mixing solids that have been wetted and therefore in a sticky or plastic state. Thus, they are useful for mixing of semi-solids as well. The high shear forces that are set up are effective in breaking the lumps or aggregates. An example of agitator is ribbon mixer or ribbon blender. It consists of a horizontal cylindrical tank fitted with spiral ribbons. Shear is applied by means of agitating spiral ribbons. The outer spiral ribbon moves the material in one direction and an inner spiral ribbon moves material in the opposite direction. This results in product with high homogeneity. Thus, they are used for blending powders that tends to aggregate or have poor flow. The disadvantage of such blenders are: first, the consumption of power is more than tumblers. Second, grinding of materials may occur, thus they are not used for fragile particles. The next agitator is planetary mixer. Planetary mixer works on planetary mixing action, wherein mixing elements rotates about its own axis and also around the circumference of the mixer container. The double rotation of the mixing elements imparts high shear forces. The mixing blades give pulling and kneading action. Thus, these mixers are used for mixing of powders, semi-solids and viscous liquids as well. Due to their unique shape, no dead zones are produced and no vortex formation is there. The next category is rapid mixer granulators called as processors or RMG. They are termed as processors because both dry mixing and wet granulation can be done effectively. They consist of two rotating elements, first mixing blade and chopper. The mixing blade has variable speed which imparts shear and convective force required for mixing of powder materials. The high-speed chopper blade functions as a lump or agglomerate breaker and thus prevents formation of aggregates when liquid is added to the solid. Thus is very useful for formation of granules. The examples of these processors includes Logi mixer, Diosna mixer, Graal mixer and Nota mixer. The mixers which we have discussed till now are all batch mixers. Now we will discuss continuous mixers. Continuous mixing occurs when separate streams of ingredients are combined in some device, mixed and the mixture removed continuously. The device may be a ribbon mixer in which the feed enters at one end and is withdrawn at the far end, or it may be rotating tube with baffles or V-turns. The first type is continuous binary powder mixer. In this mixer, the material is feed from one end, mixed due to rotation of agitator and is discharged from the other end. The second is barrel type continuous mixer. In this mixer, the material is mixed under tumbling motion. The presence of baffles further enhances the mixing. When the material approaches the midpoint of the shell, a set of baffles causes a part of the material to move backwards. Such a mechanism provides intense mixing of ingredients. The last continuous mixer is zigzag mixer. It consists of several V-shaped blenders connected in series. When the blender is inverted, the material is split into two portions. One half of the material moves backwards while the other moves forward. In each rotation, a part of the material moves towards the discharge and is mixed in the process. After discussion of equipments used for solid mixing, let us now discuss the practical considerations in solid mixing. The first problem is segregation or demixing. Processing the blends of dissimilar powders promotes segregation, also referred to as demixing, which is characterized by the spontaneous emergence of regions of non-uniform compositions. Several types of segregation patterns are observed in tumblers. The first one is radial segregation, associated with migration of fine particles towards the center, surrounded by larger particles segregating radially. The second pattern is axial segregation. In axial segregation, granular materials forms bands along the axis of rotation. The third pattern is percolation segregation, wherein smaller particles tends to fall through the voids between the larger particles and thus move to the bottom of the mass. The next is trajectory segregation. It is due to difference in kinetic energies. Larger particles tends to have greater kinetic energy owing to their large mass and therefore move greater distances than smaller particles before they come to the rest. The last segregation pattern is elutriation, also called as fluidization or dusting. During mixing, very small particles called as dust may tend to blow upwards by turbulent air currents as the mass tumbles. They remain suspended in the air during mixing. When the mixer is stopped, these particles will slowly sediment and form a layer on the top of the coarser particles. Now we will discuss the factors affecting demixing or segregation. The first and the important factor is particle size. In practice, a difference in the particle size of components of a formulation is the main cause of segregation in powder mixes. Segregation problem due to particle size difference can be rectified by First, selection of a particular size fraction, that is, removal of fines or lumps by sieving in order to achieve drug and excipients of the same narrow particle size range. Another method could be milling of components to reduce the particle size or to granulate the powder in order to increase the size. The main aim is to reduce the particle size distribution. The next factor which affects the segregation is particle density. If components are of different density, the more dense particle will have a tendency to move downwards even if their particle sizes are similar. The segregation problem due to difference in particle density can be rectified by selection of excipients with similar densities or by reducing the particle size so as to reduce the density difference. The next factor is particle shape. Particle shape is important because as the shape of the particle deviates from a spherical, the free movement decreases. Spherical particles exhibit the greatest flowability and are therefore more easily mixed, but they are also segregate more easily than non-spherical particles. Non-spherical, irregular or needle-shaped particles may become interlocked, decreasing the tendency to segregate once mixing has occurred. Segregation problem can be rectified by controlled crystallization during production of drugs or excipients to give similar shape to the particles. Next and the last problem is particle charge. Surface charging of particles during mixing is undesirable because it tends to decrease the process of interparticulate diffusion. The charge separation can be prevented by adding a small amount of surfactant to the powder, thereby decreasing the conductivity of the surface. Mixing under conditions of increased humidity above 40% also reduces segregation because of particle charge. Since we have discussed factors affecting demixing, now the next is to study mixing measures. Mixing measures are parameters which define degree of mixing. The first parameter is scale of segregation. The scale of segregation is expressed as average length or volume of lump present in a mixture. The second parameter is intensity of segregation. The intensity of segregation is a measure of the variation in composition among the various portions of the mixture. When mixing is complete, the intensity of segregation is 0. The third parameter is scale of scrutiny. The smallest region that can measure imperfections in a mixture is called as scale of scrutiny. It can be measured as length, area, volume or weight. More important than the choice of the degree of mixing is the sampling technique employed. To produce reliable samples, a correctly designed sampler is required. The most widely used sampling technique for powder is sieve. This is composed of two concentric tubes, one enclosing the other. The outer tube is pointed with holes cut in corresponding positions in inner and outer tubes. The holes are opened or closed through the rotation of the inner tube to capture the material. The sieves capture the material without disturbing the powder bed. Other tools used for sampling include scoops, shovel, and augers as described in table. Before moving forward, we will discuss mixing techniques that are generally employed in industry for mixing of potent drugs. The first one is referred to as ordered mixing. It is also called as adhesive or interactive mixing. It is valuable when potent drugs are to be mixed in relatively low percentages. It involves selection of excipient that have a selective affinity for drug. The particle-to-particle binding between the drug and inert carrier can greatly improve homogeneity. The second technique is geometric mixing. Geometric mixing ensures effective mixing when components with significantly different volumes have to be mixed. In this type of mixing, the component with lesser amount is mixed with an equal quantity of second component, and then more amount of second component is added in 50:50 proportions, and so on until all has been added. This ensures proper and random mixtures. Now students, let us discuss the third part of the module, that is semi-solid mixing. The mixing mechanisms involved in semi-solid mixing are derived from liquid and solid mixing, because the initial mixing resembles mixing of powders. However, at later stages, the mixing mechanisms of liquids become predominant. This is because semi-solids are composed of powders and liquids. Various stages in mechanisms of semi-solid are described as: the first stage is powder state, which is the initial state. The second is pellet state. Pellet state is arrived when a small amount of liquid is added. The powder balls up and forms a pellet, until eventually all the material is in this state. At this stage, the mass has become coarse, granular appearance, and the rate of attainment of homogenization is low. The third state is plastic state. As the liquid content is increased, further the granular appearance is lost and the mixture becomes homogeneous. Plastic properties are shown. The mixture becomes difficult to shear, but homogenization can be achieved rapidly. Mixing of the plastic material is facilitated by application of shear forces. The next state is sticky state. Continual incorporation of liquid causes the mixture to attain paste-like appearance. The mass flows easily even under low stresses, but homogeneity is attained slowly. The last state is liquid state. Further addition of the liquid results in decrease in consistency until a fluid state is reached. In this state, the rate of homogenization is rapid and the behavior of mixture is described by the theory of liquid mixing as discussed previously. Since we have discussed the equipments used for mixing of solids, now the important is how these mixers are selected. An ideal mixer should produce a complete blend rapidly with as gentle mixing action as possible to avoid product damage. It should be dust tight, cleaned and discharged easily, and require low maintenance and low power consumption. All these assets are generally not found in any single piece of equipment, thus requiring some compromises in the selection of mixture. The two critical parameters for mixer selection has been described here. The first one is mixer property. We start with tumblers. Tumblers such as drums suffer from poor cross flow along the axis. The addition of baffles or inclining the drum on the axis increases cross flow and improves the mixing action. In cubical and polyhedron shaped blenders, the powder is subjected more to sliding than a rolling action. Sliding does not result in efficient mixing. This is due to their flat surfaces. However, in double cone blenders, the mixing pattern provides a good cross flow with a rolling rather than a sliding motion. The uneven length of each shell in 12-shell blender provides additional mixing action when the powder bed recombines during each revolution. Twin shell and double cone blenders are recommended for precise blending. Now we will discuss about agitators. The shearing action that develops between moving blades and the trough in agitator mixer serves to break down powder agglomerates. Ribbon mixers are not precision blenders and also suffer from disadvantage of being more difficult to clean than the tumblers and have a higher power requirement. The mechanical heat buildup and relatively high power requirements are the drawbacks associated with Sigma blade and planetary mixers as well. The second critical parameter for selection of mixer is material property. For freely flowing friable materials, blenders are preferred because they generate low shear forces. Such friable particles do not break in blenders. But powders that are not free flowing or that exhibit high force of cohesion or adhesion between particles of similar or dissimilar compositions are often difficult to mix owing to agglomeration. The clumps of particles can be broken down in such cases by the use of mixers that generate high shear forces or that subject the powder to impact. The use of agitators, preferably planetary and Sigma blade, are recommended for such powders. Since semi-solid mixing closely resembles mixing of liquids and solids, thus equipments for semi-solid mixing are also common. The first set of equipments are kneaders. Under kneaders, the first equipment is planetary mixer. Planetary mixers has already been described under solid mixing. The next mixer is Sigma blade mixer. Sigma blade mixer has counter-rotating blades or heavy arms that work the plastic mass. The blades rotate tangentially with a speed ratio of about 2:1. The shape and difference in rotational speed of the blade facilitate lateral pulling of the material and impart kneading and rolling action on the material. Shear forces are also generated by high viscosity of the mass and are thus effective in deaggregation as well as distribution of solids in the fluid vehicle. The next kneader is mulling mixer. Mulling is an extension of mixing resulting from the intensification of work forces. The work forces are applied via the tread of Wade mulling wheels. Mulling mixers provide forces that incorporate kneading, shearing, smearing, and blending of materials for a total uniform consistency. This process produces just enough pressure to move, intermingle, and push particles into place without crushing, grinding, or distortion of the ingredients. Mulling mixtures are efficient in deaggregation of solids but are typically inefficient in distributing the particles uniformly through the entire mass. The next set of equipment are mills. Mills are generally employed for size reduction, but they are also used for semi-solid mixing. The first type of mill is roller mill. Roller mill consists of one or more rollers composed of a hard, abrasion-resistant material arranged into close proximity to each other and rotated at different rates to cause lateral pulling of material. Depending on the gap, the material coming between the rollers is crushed and sheared by the differences in rate of movement of the two surfaces. The roller with 3 rolls, called a stripper roller mill, is most widely used design. The next mill is colloid mill. Colloid mill is a wet milling procedure. It is used to process semi-solids. It consists of a rotor and stator. Rotor moves at high speed ranging from 3000 to 20,000 rpm, whereas stator has a conical milling surface. Between rotor and stator is an adjustable clearance ranging from 0.002 to 0.03 inch. Interfacial tension causes a part of material to adhere to the rotor and centrifugal force throws the material across the rotor onto the stator, resulting in intense shearing and mixing. The solid should be pre-milled as finely as possible to prevent damage to the colloid mill. Another equipments which are nowadays used for semi-solid mixing are extruders. Extrusion is the process of converting a raw material into a product of uniform shape and density, whereby material is forced to flow by compression through the orifice of a smaller cross-sectional area. The extruder employed in semi-solid mixing is typically composed of feeding hopper, barrels, single or twin screws that fits inside the barrel, and the die and screw driving unit called as conveying system. The conveying system transports the material and imparts a degree of distributive and dispersive mixing, whereas the die system imparts compression force. Generally, the extruder consists of single screw called as single screw extruder or two rotating screws called as twin screw extruder. Hot melt extrusion process, which is widely used nowadays, involves melting materials, mixing them with active pharmaceutical ingredients and pumping them through a die. The hot melt extrusion process is the new extrusion process, and benefits include absence of solvents, fewer processing steps, and lower manufacturing cost. So students, let us now summarize what we have learned from today's module. This module highlights the importance of mixing technology in the product development, whether the product is solid, liquid, or semi-solid. It familiarized the student with the principles of mixing in pharmaceutical processes. It develops an idea for appropriate selection of mixing equipment for a desired process. Thank you.